With the new trailer that just came out in Pokemon Day, we got more information regarding Generation 10 and Pokemon Champions. There has been a lot of discussion regarding how Pokemon Champions will shape the competitive scene. Personally, I think Pokemon Champions will change the scene, but not in the way some people might expect. In summary, I think that Pokemon Champions will not affect Pokemon Showdown unless it implements this one strategy. In this video, I will break down who are the target audience for Pokemon Champions, why the Pokemon Company wanted to create Pokemon Champions, why Pokemon Champions will not affect Pokemon Showdown, and the one way Pokemon Champions can compete with Pokemon Showdown. First section, who are the target audience for Pokemon Champions? Contrary to popular opinion, I think Pokemon Champions' main target audience are not the competitive Pokemon player base, but rather, competitive-natured mobile game players. In other words, Pokemon Champions' main target audience are not from the existing audience, but rather a new one. This can be supported by the fact that Pokemon Champions will be available for Android and Apple users. From the trailer and updated information on Pokemon Champions' website, it's clear that they're not going to compete to Pokemon Showdown's strengths, which are ease of accessibility and consumer-friendly application. In fact, if you introduce someone who has been used to playing mobile games to Pokemon Showdown, they're not going to stick around because Showdown doesn't handhold or direct you, and the sheer amounts of formats can deter them from continuing. This is not to say that one type of audience is superior to the other, but both are just fundamentally different. With Pokemon Champions format, it's clear that there will be tutorials, battle passes, and monetization strategies that are familiar to the mobile game players. Second section, why the Pokemon Company wanted to create Pokemon Champions. Why did the Pokemon Company wanted to create Pokemon Champions? The main and easy answer is, they think that this is a new opportunity for them to make money. The focus and growth of existing competitive player base by separating the main games in this application is just a convenient side effect. Why would this work? I think Pokemon TCG Pocket is a good test run for them to see if they can capture the mobile game market. Utilizing Pokemon's franchising power, they created Pocket to convert the mobile game players to become TCG players. While I couldn't find the exact data of the revenue of physical Pokemon TCG, the fact that the revenue of the TCG Pocket surpasses $1.3 billion in the first year, it's not too far-fetched to think that some of those users got converted and bought from the physical cards as well. Third section, why Pokemon Champions will not affect Pokemon Showdown. It's highly unlikely that Pokemon Champions will affect Pokemon Showdown. The existing competitive player base will still use Pokemon Showdown due to its convenience, and instead of training in the main games for VGC, they do it in Pokemon Champions instead. Pokemon Showdown will largely be unaffected because there's not going to be much crossover between the two applications. Those who enjoy mobile game stuff will enjoy Pokemon Champions. Those who already enjoy Pokemon Showdown will continue to enjoy Pokemon Showdown. And those who play both types of games will enjoy both. Now, I do have a hypothesis that if Pokemon Champions implemented this format, it can compete with Pokemon Showdown. Fourth section, the one way Pokemon Champions can compete with Pokemon Showdown. The simple answer is random battle mode. Pokemon Showdown gets most of its player base from random battles. It is the most played format in the application because the users enjoy competitive Pokemon battling, but cannot be bothered with learning and researching Pokemon team building. I, for example, enjoy it too, but with adult responsibilities, I cannot be bothered to learn matchups, EV spreads, and team synergy because it consumes too much time. Random Battle skips all that and lets users jump right into the action. If Pokemon Champions are able to replicate that mode, then some of the target audience may switch from Pokemon Showdown to Champions, because Champions is an official app. This, however, is unlikely for now, because to implement such a mode, while implementing monetization from the business side of things, can get a little bit tricky. At best, they can try to imitate, but never completely replicate the random battles mode in Pokemon Showdown. Instead, what they can do is replicate the Battle Factory mechanism, which has been a post-game staple in a lot of the mainline games. While not as popular as the random battle mode in Pokemon Showdown, the target audience in Battle Factory is nothing to scoff at either. With how the whole recruitment system is being executed, it's not far-fetched for them to create a similar system that incorporates this Battle Factory format. In conclusion, Pokemon Champions has a different purpose compared to Pokemon Showdown, and the only way it can compete with Pokemon Showdown is to replicate its biggest formats into Champions, which is highly unlikely due to business requirements and monetization. Thank you for listening to my yapping. Let me know what you think of it by liking or disliking the video, comment to let me know how right or wrong I am, and subscribe to hear more content like this. Gotta bounce!